Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another Tech Tuesday. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker, Roger Snook. He is currently a technical sales manager and has been at IBM for just about 20 years. Roger has a strong passion for IBM Cloud, having various certifications, but most importantly, he has a passion for building and designing mobile apps that can run on IBM Cloud. So during Roger's presentation today, he'll be covering a lot of great information. And as we go along, I'll post some links in the chat for anything that he's referring to. We'll also be monitoring the chat for any questions. All right, Roger, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Danielle, and welcome everyone. Hey, shout out to Ed and Greg. Saw you guys in the attendee list. Welcome to the session today. Hey, I don't have very many charts because I did want to focus on some demo, but I do have some important charts. And Danielle's going to help me along here because you're going to see a bunch of red boxes and links throughout. And it would just be helpful for you to have those links as we go along. So some of these concepts you're going to see here are principles that I've written about in our book. I'm just one of several authors on the enterprise class mobile application development book. And of course, you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. All right, so as Danielle mentioned, I'm a big proponent for mobile apps, but let's just talk about apps in general. I think it's all about the apps. And of course, building the engaging and secure mobile apps are really helping our clients do two things: generate revenue or lower costs. Generating revenue, typically those are the business to consumer type applications or business to business type applications. So in either of those categories, it might be like a mobile banking or a retail, or it might be as simple as an API that you might be building in a B2B scenario and driving traffic to your APIs and generating revenue that way, or lowering cost. Typically the business to employee types of applications help eliminate a lot of the paper trails and manual workflows through automation, through some kind of application. And if you're with any large organization, you're probably using several different applications for expenses, timekeeping, and so on. And those are, again, built to lower costs. The mobile angle here is, frankly, the mobile market has just skyrocketed over the last 15 years, and to now really a generation that's coming up that is really, I'll call, born on mobile. It's the easiest way. They know how to transact with the outside world and to businesses. And so you have a whole new set of consumers now coming up and rising through the ranks. And it's up to businesses really to cater to that by either one, modernizing existing applications to appeal to this market, or driving new cloud native apps and building those new apps to, again, cater to the audience. Now, there are really 5 particular apps and project types. Yes, I'm going to be talking mostly about mobile, but if you look at the whole of the market, there's not only mobile, but there's also a lot of good AI-based applications, analytics-based applications, as well as Internet of Things, or even, as I mentioned, API projects. So these are really the top 5 types of projects that we see out there. And really, you need, in this world, you need a multi-cloud architecture. You may not know, but even in just the world of mobile, as mobile developers put together and assemble their applications, oftentimes mobile devices or the mobile apps themselves can utilize more than one cloud provider in that solution, again, based on the services. So the success elements, for any project or app really are those 4 things listed: people, process, parts, and a partnership of trust. And so I'm going to take a little tour through each one of these and, of course, sprinkle the demo throughout. So let's start with people and being able to be skilled with design thinking. So to build that engaging mobile app. Now, I think the first emotion I want to tap into here in the good design thinking approach is Have you ever had a bad retail experience on the web or on your mobile device? I think we all have had that really frustrating session where we just can't get the product we want or get the details for the product we want. And it's just overall a very frustrating experience. So design thinking really is aimed at, really trying to build the delightful experience. And that this is a knowledge, a skill that people can develop. And one way to do that is through the free courses that are available on the ibm.com/design/thinking site. Again, Danielle's putting those wonderful links. This is a proven set of techniques, and you can see the Forrester testament there delivers some wonderful return on investment when you start employing this practice to build better engaging applications. Now, of course, if you don't have that skill and you want to partner with a trusted organization, IBM and several of our business partners have design thinking experts, and it's as easy as purchasing right off of the IBM Cloud catalog. What you're seeing here is just the ability to go right to the IBM Cloud catalog and engage with our garage or cloud expert labs to do a design thinking session to result in what could be the next great experience for your customers. And so design thinking, personally, I'm badged in multiple levels, not only a practitioner, which is actually something I also teach in a local university and have the students take this very same badge. So I've got 8 more students now up and running on their practitioner badge already this year. It's a 2-hour course, very simple set of concepts. But once again, you can begin your learning, become agile in your thinking around executing the loop, which is a fundamental concept in design thinking to deliver that ongoing experience. And if you've ever wondered, gee, why am I getting so many app updates on all my apps on my phone? It's because that market, those vendors of customers, or those vendors, app vendors, are constantly innovating and delivering new experiences to you through your mobile app. So my first demo is actually a little bit about the experience. Let me tell you what the experience that I'm bringing to life here is. I'm a little bit of an investor fan, so you know. But one of the key concepts that Warren Buffett talks about is if you want to be successful investing, and this is one of the many advices that he has, buy products or buy stocks in companies who make the products you buy. So, for example, if you like Crest toothpaste, you should buy Procter and Gamble stock. Okay. And so what I've done is I've actually taken this same concept and applied it to apps. We all have many apps built on our phone, but do you know who makes all of those apps? And the thought here is that based on this knowledge that you have on your phone of the apps that you have installed, you should invest in particular stocks that this application, AppVestor, will uncover for you. Again, some of these principles are outlined in the book. And just one caveat for those looking for an iOS version, this will sing to the data protection and privacy. The iPhone actually does not have APIs to inquire about such things. But the Android platform does allow you to inquire about what apps you have on your device. So let's go to the demo now. Give me a moment just to switch over to my phone. Here's my phone. So pardon if any notifications or maybe my wife might text me on something here. But I'm going to go ahead and launch AppVestor. AppVestor, again, is the application in question that I've built according to these principles. And right from the get-go, you're going to see some disclaimers because in order to find out what stocks you have, I have to inquire what apps you have installed. And then I look those up in a database. I'll get to that in just a minute. But because what applications you have and your identity is what we call personal and sensitive information, then I want to build the trust in my users that I'm going to be a good data controller. That is, I'm going to set aside a privacy policy, much like what the GDPR in Europe does, or what the California Consumer Privacy Act tries to do as well. And that is offer some level of trust rather than just, freestyling it with the data. And that's hopefully what I'm inspiring for any mobile developers on the call today. Is there is a lot of pressure to share data, but it's good to be in control of your data. I want to know that when I remove my data from an application vendor, and there's a notification now, that I can go ahead and request that it get removed. So I didn't even see what the thing was, so hopefully it didn't stay on the line too long. But I'm going to agree, and once I agree, I can proceed in the application. Now, the next thing you're going to see to again build an engaging application interface is normally to create an account, you have to build a form to do such. And what I'm going to show you here is that in the IBM Cloud Catalog, there is something called the App ID service, which allows us to engage a client by identifying them through one of the popular social media mechanisms. So I'm going to go ahead and I can connect to Facebook or Google here easily. I'm just going to log in with Facebook just because that's easy enough. It pulls out my email that's registered with Facebook, and then I'm able to go ahead and proceed. So it's very easy to get onboarded into an application. So with that, I'm going to let that chug and find all my applications while I talk to you about App ID. So as I mentioned, it's important to get the experience really fine-tuned and easily make your application easy to use. And social media authentication is another way, is one way, again, to make it just easy to onboard consumers into your application. It literally is just a few lines of code to put in that little request dialog on your iOS, Android, or even on a web application if you're using Node.js or Java. And as you can see on the right, also, there's not only Facebook and Google, but there's a custom identity. Or, for example, if you wanted to tap into your own company's single sign-on mechanism, you can engage that here as well. Okay. So again, it's another way to build those B2C or even B2E, business to employee type customer type applications, where you want to fulfill that and link into your single sign-on to ease the identification of you as the user of the application and begin to personalize the experience. So again, there's a lot more links you can learn about App ID. I think there's a really sweet 2-minute video that pretty much describes well what App ID does. And Danielle has kindly placed that into the chat already. Okay. All right. Let's now, that's sort of people and skills and a little bit of onboarding into the process of what we call envisioning a great experience. But let's turn to process more holistically. In fact, like I mentioned, we already began this sort of envision. What does the vision of our next solution might look like? But that's part of what we call our garage method. And in the garage method, and you'll see this come up in a little bit more detail, it's really a collaborative approach. So development team and end sponsor users or end users come together to co-create and co-execute and perhaps cooperate this particular solution. And it all starts with some kind of initial discovery into what's going on, envisioning what that solution might be, developing that, of course, potentially providing some reason or data collection to be able to help make some decisions that are best for the user, operate those in production, and then learn from all of that. All of this, of course, surrounding a core agile culture. So you want at the center your people, which we covered in the earlier section, to be the right skilled people that are thinking with design thinking and agile principles. On the right is more of the developer-oriented experience or developer and operational type experience, or what we call mobile DevOps, where I'm going to take you through a little bit more here, but it's a life cycle. Again, all those mobile app updates that you're getting, those vendors are either already have integrated back-end systems, they're adding instrumentation or code to provide lots of other key capabilities and performance sensors. They're going through a testing, some kind of certification. Of course, it's deployed to the app stores, or if it's on the web, it's deployed to the web. And of course, there is some management aspect to it. There's, of course, getting intelligence around those usage patterns and getting that input into the next phase of design and development, again, to evolve the experience and improve that, and of course, make it a secure experience. So let's take a look at a sampling of some of those. You know, the IBM Cloud Catalog has over 300 different services. I'm just going to touch on a handful today. And let's talk about integrate and instrument. So in integration, you know, practically 95% of mobile applications talk to some backend, whether it's a database or existing system of record. And largely, my experience shows that it's not the cost of building the application, but it's the cost of actually building APIs to expose the existing systems of record or databases to the mobile applications that are more costly. And so why not find a better way to expose those valuable systems of record or existing databases by using automation tools or streamline tools like API Connect. And again, there are links here for these offerings for you to explore in the Cloud Catalog. And API Connect is one that can really boost the productivity of developers. If you're familiar with other products in this space, there are things like MuleSoft is pretty popular. But API Connect is specifically designed for building a commercial API that's enterprise grade. App Connect is another heritage software component that also has a SaaS form. And here you're able to connect your applications and various components in your enterprise to exchange data. So it knows about the data structures, if you would, or the data schemas for all those various systems that it supports. And it's able to translate data from one to the other. So oftentimes in mobile scenarios, you might be working with one system, but you want that data to get transferred into another system. App Connect can help you do a lot of that enterprise work. And then finally, app configuration. This is a really nifty approach for what are often called feature flags. And again, there are point products out there, but the convenience of having this available in a broad catalog like the IBM catalog and its 300 services it's very approachable. And app configuration allows you to turn on and off features. So you pre-develop the features, you put them into the application, and then you turn them on or off in an operational console rather than having to issue new applications through your app store. As mobile developers know, sometimes getting the application published to the App Store is a week or two effort just to make it go through the supply chain in iTunes or in the Google Play Store. So by pre-developing this and then giving operational control to turn these on and off, it has a really cool set of features like dark launching. So maybe you want to just roll out a certain feature to a subset of users, or you want to try out new features with audience A and B. So you can do what's called A/B type testing and get feedback from those consumers. Or maybe you're just concerned about performance and performance testing. And, this is your first launch of an application. You're not sure your back-end systems can handle all that. And we actually have a customer. I'm not going to say who that is right now because they're still in the development stages, but we have a customer now that is building a cart upsizing capability that they're rolling out to stores in a staged process. It's a brand new idea. They don't know if all of their backends have been tuned to handle this capability because there's a lot of nifty AI stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But what they're able to do now is to turn this capability on in a rolling set of fashion of stores to scale up that operation. Again, no new application features need to be designed. You put them in the application, simply engage app configuration to turn those on and off as you see fit. So nifty capabilities there. Now, I mentioned performance testing. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here. Largely in the mobile space, mobile app space, manual testing is kind of the de facto standard, and it kind of never goes away. There are automated tools, and IBM does make a number of different tools just in the periphery of our cloud. That you might recall them as some of the old IBM rational testing tools. So those are still available through our partnership with HCL. And there's a number of good tools there to help you build and expand and evolve your testing over time, just like you would expand and evolve your application's features. This concept is also in that book I mentioned, and you can read more about it there. Okay, so that's process. Let's talk about parts. Now, probably one of the key elements here is, Roger, why do we need cloud? We build mobile apps with Android Studio or Xcode, Apple's Xcode for those respective platforms. Why do we need services? Well, the fact is, a lot of these services do not exist in those native toolkits. The native toolkits are great for building the user interface experience, but it doesn't provide you the enterprise grade services. And so in that vein, we're going to take a look at some of those example services. One is, what database do you want to use in your application? Well, you may have a lot of choices. In my particular case, I use the Cloudant database. It has a free tier of access, which is really nice and convenient because really this is an experimental application and I don't use it for commercial purposes. So a free tier is just great. And if you're just starting out on IBM Cloud, it's a great way to get on board and ramp up your experience in a free fashion. But NoSQL is a very popular format for mobile applications. But of course, if you want access to more enterprise grade databases, there are full relational SQL databases. And of course, a lot of these key capabilities in some of these databases is the high availability that's offered through its presence in what we call our multi-zone regions. So both MongoDB and Postgres, for example, are two database formats that are available in such a manner. Just need to close something out here so it's not covering my screen. But as you can see here, these are over 40 different database formats based on your application's fit for purpose need. And some of these are from IBM. Some of these are from third-party vendors. And I think that's another testament, this whole marketplace of services that are available. As a user of, or as a partner of IBM, you're welcome to join forces with our cloud catalog and list your items on our public cloud catalog for consumption by other consumers. So lots of choice there. Let's move on to another service. Now, I don't yet use this one, but it's, I'm sure you all witnessed a push notification come on the screen early in the demo. And so I know you've all have experienced it because you experience it here. IBM Cloud has a service in the catalog called Event Notifications that allow you to build notifications into your application's experience. Now, these notifications can certainly be mobile, but they can also be web. So they can come through Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Mobile, of course, iOS or Android. You can actually even deliver emails, text messages, or other custom delivery mechanisms through event notifications. And you can also make it a universally approachable thing. So you can deliver one subscription or one set of subscription messages to multiple platforms. And that way you're catering to your whole audience. So you can see the API reference of supported destinations is listed there on the right, but it's another way to build engaging applications. You notice when holidays come around or when Macy's has its one-day sale, for example, you might get more push notifications. This is basically a concept in the similar light where, maybe the marketing team is crafting up how to best push out key notifications for you and deliver that through the application. So again, more links from Danielle there. Finally, in I guess the story for cloud services, or second to final in the cloud services, is there's a lot of choice for cloud compute options. And while I'm been talking about mobile, oftentimes, again, mobiles usually has some kind of back end, and there may be other applications that you want to deploy. And those application components in your enterprise portfolio can be deployed on a variety of different choices for enterprises, depending on how much you want to manage yourself or how much you want to make it easy to manage. So bare metal, yeah, all you can eat in terms of managing your entire bare metal estate. It's the easiest approach to take on-prem boxes and move them into IBM Cloud. Of course, virtual machines. Again, several different flavors of virtual servers, including VMware. IBM has the largest real estate of VMware on the market. I think there's some 800,000 different applications that have been migrated into the IBM Cloud. And of course, as you reinvent or maybe start creating new applications for the cloud, you're taking more of a containers approach. So IBM has two flavors of Kubernetes container, or two flavors of containers and container orchestration through Kubernetes or Red Hat OpenShift. And of course, we'll also talk about functions in here in a second. But as you notice, things are getting smaller as the graph goes up and to the right, because we're building less code and relying more on these service providers, cloud service providers, to provide more of that management to make it easier for us and faster and quicker to deploy applications. Okay. So while I'm going to get to functions in a moment, what I want to stress here is that, over the last year and a half, we've been talking about IBM Cloud Code Engine. And if you hadn't seen the notification, we are retiring the Cloud Foundry, deprecating Cloud Foundry in favor of the IBM Cloud Code Engine. And it's a way to really make this fit into the containers strategy, but also be simple to deploy applications across many runtimes in one of those chosen formats. Now, as promised, I'm going to talk about IBM Cloud Functions. It's the place where you can write the least amount of code because it's usually dealing with some kind of events. And here again, I'm going to reference my article, Implementing Data Privacy Rights with Mobile Apps and Databases. And in this article, which also features this AppVestor application, I put together a strategy where I'm simply pushing data to a user privacy database. When you check that box on that opening screen in the application, you're checking a consent option, and I log a consent record into the database. If you want to withdraw or request your information, those get logged into the database. But I want to know when that happens. As the operator of this application, I want to know when that happens. So the code on the right is the very simple code that basically just is launched every time a change happens with the database. So I've already set up the code, and all the links for setting up the functions to monitor the database are shown in the article, but the actual code to actually trigger the email is shown on the right. So it's, every line of code you create is something you have to maintain in the future. So the less code you can get away with, the easier it's going to be maintained. And then over time, over the years, personnel change at companies. And so if you have a lot of code, that means a lot of that knowledge is stored in people's heads if it's not well documented. And so having less code just makes it easier to transcend into the next generation of developers. Okay, so let's resume our demo and talk about cloud functions and cloud and the cloud and database. So let me again switch over to my application. It's already finished its lookup. And so based on the applications that I have running or have installed, you can see I have a number of stock symbols that are listed. So, there's maybe some surprises here. I love Shazam, right? It has a nifty way of listening to music and then telling you what that song is in that sort of name that tune approach. Did you know Apple bought Shazam? Same thing with, I'll go down, at the very bottom of the list, IMDb. It's owned by Amazon. So I've done some of the homework on the mapping of the databases, Priceline, all part of the Booking.com franchise. So you can see a number of different applications in here, including some, of course, Google, since it's on the Android platform. But you'll get to see here, there's some IBM applications. So the IBM developer application, Redbooks, support, the Weather Channel. Yes, IBM bought that some time ago. And so you can see a number of different applications there. Now, what I'm going to show, though, is actually my settings. And what I'm going to do now is actually do a request of my information because I want to be in control of what data is being stored and the amount of data that's going to be stored. So I'm going to issue a request here. And this is a data subject request. And you can see my email is actually shown on the screen there, but I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to issue that data request. So what's happening in the background, though, in the IBM Cloud is the function service is monitoring my cloud and database to send me an email that something has changed in the database so that I can go take action on it. Similarly, I can also withdraw my data altogether, and I would remove all the data. And of course, because of that, I will exit out of the application. I'm not going to do that now. I think one request is sufficient. But let me go over to, since I've already done the request, let me go over to my email. And let's see. Oh, yeah, you may have some things in here, but here's my AppVestor change, user privacy change notification email that I got just now. You can see the timestamp as a result of me requesting my data. So again, very simple scenario, spelled out in the article. And that's the last sort of part of the demo that I want to show, because I really want to close with a partnership of trust. Building applications that drive the lifeblood of generating revenue and or lowering cost really requires a partnership of trust amongst your DevOps team and the entire supply chain, depending on how you do it internally or outsource it. You need that ongoing level of trust. I've seen a pattern of companies who build an application once, they throw it out to the App Store, and they never keep it updated. And you'll see those are typically apps that are not very well rated and don't get further installs. There's also a security compliance and then cloud provider. And let's talk a little bit about that. So certainly the back-end components, as you build a secure and private mobile application, you are subject to the platform itself. But on the back end of that, you want to be able to have a trusted cloud provider that can really take care of your data and any other processes or applications that are surrounding that. And so you need not only a good DevOps, DevSecOps approach, but also a way to look at all the different angles based on like the NIST standards of network security, identity access, your data security, logging, and so on. You want a trusted cloud services provider, one that's done this before. And IBM has a number of mobile success stories, including those that have been published in our annual reports. And there's probably just about 100 App Store apps that are out there publicly that use some form of the IBM catalog of services. And then finally, security leadership IBM is the only keep your own key company that is on the back end. If you're not familiar, every cloud provider other than IBM you turn your keys over to that cloud provider. That means if a rogue employee or something were to happen, those cloud providers can get access to your data. With Keep Your Own Key, IBM goes through a key ceremony and provides you the key, and you are responsible for that. And IBM can no longer see your data, which again reduces the attack surface, if you would, of the people of who can see the data. And of course, there's nothing like having wonderful availability statistics on some of the back end components like databases or the other cloud services to know and trust that your application is running successfully in the cloud. With that, I think I'll say thank you for your time and attention today. And Danielle, over to you for our fun entertainment.
Great. Thanks, Roger. So we're going to switch to an exciting Kahoot quiz. And you can either scan this QR code with your cell phone or just type in the URL and enter in the unique game pin, and then we will get started.